half of the world's net wealth belongs to the top 1%. Now, there's loads of factors that can prevent you from creating wealth. For example, lack of education, access to resources, financial literacy, your personal mindset and your behaviors like fear of taking risks, procrastinating, lack of discipline. And that's what today's session is all about, educating you on the critical factors to change that all-important statistic that I started with and start putting some of that wealth in your pocket. So we're going to learn from an absolute expert in the field. He's the founder of Wealth Builders. He's an author. He's a speaker. He's a mentor. Kevin Whelan. How are you doing, sir?
It's great to be with you, James. And I'm also just acknowledging that the latest book was written in collaboration with, with the founder of Action Coach. So
with Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach. Absolutely. So the Wealth Coach book, yeah, is the latest book. I've got a really important question for you. And I want everybody here paying real attention, because wealth is, wealth is part of personal freedom, yes? So financial freedom, personal freedom, we go together. What are the 3 biggest mistakes, in your opinion, that people make when it comes to wealth creation?
That's a great question. And to narrow it down to 3, that's really going to focus the attention.
Well, let's see what you've got. Let's see.
Well, I think the first one would be a lack of understanding of the difference between the types of income that you can earn. In other words, most people that I meet who will not be financially independent, will not become wealthy with all of the freedoms that you mentioned: freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of location, freedom of relationships, any combination of those freedoms, which really are the hallmarks of wealth. They don't understand the difference between work income and asset income. And it's a fundamental misunderstanding that leads people to focus on the wrong things. Let me elaborate.
Is that the first? That's
one? The first mistake, not understanding the difference.
Right. Okay, got it.
Work income and asset income.
Okay, what's the second biggest mistake then?
Not protecting your family as you build your wealth.
Whew, I mean, that's a personal thing, I'm a family man as well. So not protecting your family is number 1. Understanding the relationship between work income and asset income.
Or the
difference. Right. Number 2, not protecting your family.
Mm-hmm.
What's number 3?
Number 3, for business owners in particular, and I thought I'd pick out business owners, it's leaving too much money in their business bank account with the tax already paid, doing nothing.
Yeah, all right. So investing money, lack of investing money, leaving too much money. I mean, it's quite common that, because I see that all the time when we're coaching businesses here in the bank account. So, that first one that you said there, the relationship between work income and asset income. Let's just assume that people don't know anything. So what is an asset? What is an asset? I think everybody understands my work income is this. What is an asset?
Let's clarify that. So I'll come on to that just in a moment, but work income is trading time for money. So delivering something, delivering a service, delivering a product, delivering an outcome for someone where the way you get paid is you're paid once. Now, I'm not talking about a customer coming back and buying again. I'm talking about the difference between an income that's essentially from a transaction. You've given some value, you get some money back, and that's the measure of the value. And asset income is income that flows continually from an agreed exchange of value that both parties want to participate in, both parties can see a benefit from, and both parties are willing to do their part in the exchange. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, what's an asset? Yeah, let's deal with that. An asset is something you own that is not you, right? So it's not you delivering something personally.
Beautiful.
Right? It puts money in your bank account while you're asleep.
Nice. Everyone wants, yeah.
Yeah. You can pass that money on to anybody that you want to, people you care for, people you love, charities, whatever it would be. The money continues to flow In other words, the money shows up, you don't have to. That's the whole essence of the two differences. And most people who do not become financially independent don't have assets, or they think they have, but they misunderstand the asset. Those who are wealthy have created a flow coming from multiple assets with multiple flows that give diversification, and becoming financially bulletproof is having assets which work in different ways. What we call in economics, I'm an economist by training, counter-correlating assets. Assets that don't all go up and all go down like the stock market. All goes up and all goes down. It doesn't operate like it used to. We're seeing huge volatile swings where remember 2008, what happened when everything went down? Everything fell off a cliff. And it happens time and time and time again. And there are only 7 assets. So the great thing about wealth building, it's a science. It's not rocket science, it's not difficult. And once you get it and your brain clicks and says, hey, I get that, 7 assets, I own something I own, puts money in my bank account, I can pass it on to my family, which is great, and I don't have to show up, money shows up. What are they? Because once I've learned them, and then how do I put them into play? And you can do that gradually. It doesn't have to be a sudden shift saying, right, stop doing what you're doing, continue trading time for money. Nothing wrong with that. But then if you're trading time for money, and let's say you're a coach and you believe your coaching business is a lifestyle business, you're getting a good income, 6-figure income or multiples of that, and you've got a good income, nothing wrong with then saying, okay, I'm going to continue to do that, but I'm going to invest the proceeds, a part of the benefit that I'm receiving from that time for money flow, to plant seeds in something else that then builds an asset for me. So the one can lead to the other, but it's almost better to be thinking about, can you create the assets every single month so that it's part of your monthly cycle, like doing your accounts or like looking at how profitable you are, or just having a meeting with your team. So my principle and mantra for most people is never let 30 days go by without doing something positive to put a layer in your wealth plan. And all you're doing is every month.
That's incredible behavior, isn't it?
Once a month. And my experience is most people can transition from being dependent on a single source of income from their job or a business to becoming completely financially independent in about 5 years.
Right. So is that everybody listening to this, take that monthly action? Are we talking 5 years that people can do this?
Almost everybody can do it in 5 years. And if you've got, and what I mean by that is get to a place, there's 3 levels of wealth that would be worth talking about. And it's kind of interesting to just reflect on where you are. So if, for example, whatever you're doing, or any business owner, whatever they're doing, if all of a sudden their health went, gone, they can't deliver the service, how much recurring income is automatically flowing? I don't mean how much money they got in the bank they spend, but how much money would come in every single month. How much money would that be? If it's less than your lifestyle, kind of a lockdown lifestyle, you pay your bills, you pay your mortgage if you've got one, everything is made, then we call that financial insecurity. You're not secure yet. And there's a way to then build security first and then start to build assets to get you to that level. Whether that's $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, 10, it doesn't matter. The figure doesn't matter at all. What matters is financial security is what number. Think of a number that works for you. The next number is financial independence. What's the number? What's the amount of money, net after tax, spending money? Not worry about the tax. It's all done. How much would that need to be completely financially independent, to do whatever the lifestyle is you want, whether you turn right or left in an airplane, however many holidays you have.
Is that as simple as choosing your number? Choosing your number.
And for most people, certainly in my community, it's, hovers between 10,000 and 20,000 a month. Right. Now, once you've got that, it's just a process of layering each little action that starts to add recurring income. So you go from insecurity to security, from security, up towards independence. And gradually you can do that by leveraging the assets you already have in your life, because people have got them. Yeah, everybody's got some assets, but I call them latent assets. Assets that are underground, like hibernating,
Yeah.
not quite working hard yet. How do you turn those? And that's the place to start. So you start with the easy stuff and then look at the more complex things later on. And I'm more than happy to dive into what the 7 assets are,
So
if that's what you want to know.
We're going to go there. We're going to go there. I've got them planned in. So number 1 is you start in insecurity, then you move to security, then you move to independence.
Yeah.
That's where the wealth of personal freedom kind of comes in as well. Now, a couple of things that I'm picking up on what you said there. An asset is something that's flowing consistently that you own, and it's not you. I thought that was fantastic definition. Sharon Lecter, she said something at one of our conferences, actually. Again, she operates in your space. She said, assets are sexy. And again, it's something that kind of stuck with me. And I remembered it because she put that kind of label on it, and plenty of emotions kind of associated with that. Now, something you said right at the beginning of that, I do want to just touch on this working income definition. You said this is trading time for money, which, I did that statistic from Wikipedia. There's 1% of people is 50% of wealth. So
that's assets. They're not trading time for money for this.
No, they're not. So there's a mindset shift to be had here, isn't there? Away from trading time for money. How do people have that shift?
Well, I think the first thing is to recognize it, because, everybody thinks in different ways. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to see and observe.
Yeah.
However you like to visualize, listen, or see. I mean, there's just so many different ways to do that. So, for example, most people do some work, say they're coaching for every week, get paid. And they do it again. Do some work, get paid. Okay. What if you did some work, got paid? So the idea is everything sounds and looks different if you can understand that it's the putting the asset into place. Like another visual might be planting a seed which gives fruit, and
Yes.
you're just picking the fruit. But what you've done is you planted the seed. You can't just plant the seed, pick the fruit. You've got to take the time in order to build.
It's a nice analogy, though, isn't it? It's like start planting some seeds on your wealth, and keep watering them, keep doing that monthly action to let them grow. Yeah. Let's go into the second area then, which was not protecting your family. I'll just bring that up on. So you said the second biggest mistake is you don't protect your family. Yeah,
and I remember this as quite a powerful call to action for me to want to build wealth in the first place, James. My father died very young when he was 46, was a business owner, had a very nice little business. I remember him showing me the certificate of incorporation, didn't know what the hell it was, but I knew he had a business. And he was an agent for BP and Shell on the North Sea oil rigs, bringing welders and inspectors and divers. And he was like bringing them in and getting paid a bit of their wages and his wages for doing the work. Lovely little business. And our family started to show signs of that. We bought a house instead of having a council house. He had 2 cars, nice cars, not really terrible cars. Everything was looking rosy until it wasn't, because he died. And because he died, no business succession plan. What happened to all that good work? Gone. He didn't have a will. What happened? Well, then if you don't have a will, it's a messy old business, because you've got to go through the court of protection. What, did he have life cover to protect the mortgage? No. Did he have a power of attorney so the family could take care of things, make decisions in his absence? No. When my experience is when busy entrepreneurs, always time poor, spinning plates, juggling balls, real circus routine, and they're doing it every single month, they always put off things like wealth, and they put off things like protecting their family. And what I mean by that, we call it the roof. You see the kind of logo of Wealth Builders, which is a foundation, 7 pillars on which to build wealth, and a roof. And the roof is a combination of things, making a will for sure, powers of attorney, personal powers of attorney, business powers of attorney. If you've got life cover, put it in trust so it's paid straight to the family. Ideally, your business can pay for it. So you get a discount of 50% of the cost because you're running your life cover through your business instead of personal. Owning your home as tenants in common instead of joint tenants. So if you die, half your property's in trust. So if your wife goes into care, she can't lose the family can't lose the property to long-term care costs. You get the idea. So the whole principle of a good solid roof is taking time and stopping and saying, hey, if I really want to build wealth for my family, I'm trying to build it for myself, but I want to build it for my family too, then protect them until I've built the wealth. Once you build the wealth, you can switch off the insurance. You can switch off some of the things that are protecting them and then just leave the legal documents in play. And that's what we do at Wealth Builders. We call it building your watertight roof. And most people are not watertight. And I'm sure there are people listening to this, and maybe if they watch a recording, probably have always meant to get around to it. I've been meaning to get around to that. It's half done, but not fully done. It doesn't take much to get it done. And
I've got a sneaky suspicion that excuse actually comes up all of the time when it comes down to wealth creation. I'll do it tomorrow. Oh yeah, I just haven't got time to do that. It's something that can wait. There's not a natural urgency to it. How can we get an urgency to building wealth? I mean, that story that you told about your dad, by the way, it's, he got the heart beating, and the emotions are there. Now,
well, in reality, I think it's about a catalyst, James. So for me, that was a catalyst, but a catalyst doesn't have to be born out of tragedy at all. It could be born out of a thought process that says, hey, I've got a reason to overcome my own inertia, right? And what's that reason? And then I call it my first ROI. So I believe in, lots of different ROIs, return on intellect, return on interaction. But the first one, the most powerful one of all, what's my reason to overcome inertia? Now, sometimes it could be a tragedy like me. It could be stopping and thinking and listening to this. It could be this. It could be anything at all that just makes you realize it's time. It could be a health scare. You've just lost a friend. You've just hit 50 and you've realized, bloody hell, I've just looked at my pension statement and I've got no chance of replicating this high income I'm getting. It could be any combination of those things. So there's you talked about the sexy assets. Well, there's a quote everywhere around the subject of wealth. And I think there's an old quote, which is an object at rest stays at rest. And everybody needs a nudge to move them from at rest, because almost every business owner I meet isn't building their wealth. They're at rest when it comes to their wealth. They're not protecting their family. They're at rest when it comes to their family. There's nothing wrong with being at rest, as long as you understand the consequence is if something happens to you, there's going to be some terrible, terrible consequences, not just short-term ones, but lifetime ones. I know that if my father was looking backwards, he would be horrified at the mess he left. But because he was a business owner, thought he was Superman in mid-40s, didn't think anything was going to happen. That's the truth of it. And everybody knows somebody with a cancer scare or with something that's happened. You know somebody where something's happened. And that devastation can be avoided with about 2 hours of work. 2 hours
per month.
Work. No. 2 hours of work to protect the family. 2 hours is done. It can be done in 2 hours. It's people overthink it. Okay, so you can do it. And either find somebody you trust to do it, or we do it and just get people to sit down. Right, your will's done, powers of attorney done, your life cover's done, whatever it is you've got done, it's done. It's only 2 hours thinking time.
I love that analogy. You know, an object that's at rest will stay at rest. You know, it's a law of physics. Now the thing is, I started with a quote about the 1% of people is 50% of the world's wealth. So really, probably 99% of the population are at rest. Now, I don't want to be offensive with that because they're actually really busy trading time for money.
Yeah.
Like with what, which is that first point that you link to the relationship between the two. So yeah, look, there's 2 points there: your relationship between work income and asset income, the importance of protecting your family. Let's go on the third one before we touch on the 7 points of how you're going to start creating your wealth. So you said leaving too much money in the bank.
Tax
so it's pretty
paid.
common as well.
With tax paid.
With tax already paid, yes. So tax is paid. You leave the money in the bank. Why?
Well, I think
why do people do it?
Well, I think they do it for 2 or 3 reasons. The first reason is they're thinking about the business and thinking, well, the business will always need some kind of reinvestment at some point, and I get that. Number 2 is they're still so busy doing what they're doing. This is the proceeds and the profit, but they're still busy doing the time for money thing and just building that up. And the third is they don't want to take it out of the business because they know if they took it out, they'd pay more taxes personally on the dividends. So as a result, they don't do anything with the money. And part of the challenge of that is, of course, more money that's left in the business is money that's at risk as well. You know, no business is without the possibility of some danger to it. It would be arrogant to assume all businesses are completely immune from external factors. We've seen that in COVID. We've seen it in floods. We've seen it in all sorts of different ways when a sudden sea change or a political decision changes the way your business operates, or you lose a major customer because you had one, if anything is risky, but you had one big customer, they stopped paying, and or you had a big debt, and all of a sudden your business is at risk, and that money's at risk. So I encourage people not to do that. Have enough money, of course, to look after the future investment needs of the business. But I encourage, you talked about wealth being sexy. I like to say wealth is sassy. So
All right,
I like the sassy nature of that because
I'm sure you do.
So we help people create a trust fund inside the business, ring fence and protecting that money, but it's accessible by the business, and moreover, they get the tax back. So it's not just the money they've already got that drops into the trust fund, it's the tax they've already paid. They get that back, and now they can use that to build their assets, to support the business or scale the business. It's like having your cake and eat it. And if you get your tax back, here's the interesting thing. If you get your tax back,
two cakes for the price of one.
Well, yeah, but listen to this one. If you get 25p, we know corporation tax going up, 25p in the pound for most businesses. If you could buy an asset, whatever your asset is, and even though gold isn't an asset because it doesn't give you cash flow, but let's just say somebody said, hey, I wouldn't mind hedging in gold. You've just got 25% off the price of gold. If you want to buy stocks and shares, you just got 25% off the price of stocks and shares. So it's reducing your risk. The government's contributing to your risk.
Amazing.
If the government paid 25% of your life cover costs, then or 50% because tax deductible anyway, then you're getting in a place where you're starting to maximize and make more efficient every decision you do once every month.
Well, you know what's overriding on all of that, and the thought came up during every one of them 3 points, and I think it's the importance of making a decision and a decision I mean that's combined with an action to actually start building your wealth. Whether it's having a phone call with someone, having that conversation with your life partner, bringing it up with your coach or mentor. I've really got to start doing this. Setting a goal. There's just got to be something, a decision with an immediate action to start creating this in order to start moving down that path. Now, according to your philosophy, it's probably more than a philosophy here, but this is your wealth creation system, really. There's 7 pillars in there. Now, I just want to touch on each one of these for 2 minutes. You give us the really important stuff on each one of these. So anyone watching right now, these are the 7 ways in which you will create your wealth, and this will change your life. You take action on any of these. Should we start from the top? Number 1.
Sure, but let me preface that by just saying most people have got assets. I mentioned them as latent assets. So the first 3 are the latent one. People have got them, but they're not working hard. We'll cover those. And then we'll cover the entrepreneurial pillars, which are numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I want you to see them in balance, because they don't all have equal weight. 4, 5, 6, 7 are much more powerful than 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, most people have already got. 4, 5, 6, 7.
They don't
absolutely more powerful. So you can count the pillars on the bottom of the screen. Max has got some nice little visual for you on this as well. Okay. So pillar number 1 is home capacity. We're going to have 2 minutes on each one here.
Sure. So when you think about a home, and of course this is a Kiyosaki point as well, your home isn't an asset because it takes money out of your life for most people, doesn't put it in. But your home has got the potential to do that. So you could rent a room for $7,500 a year. I'm not saying do it, but you could. You could build an annex, as some of our clients do near Heathrow Airport, and rent it to tenants.
Well, Airbnb nowadays is Airbnb.
You could take equity out of the home in terms of a mortgage, pay 4% and get 8%. If you knew how to do that, you can get leverage on your home. The challenge is most people don't, and the only time they ever see their home as an asset is when they get too old and they realize, oh dear, I haven't built enough wealth. I've now lost my income. I've been made redundant, or my health is gone, and I haven't got enough income coming in. I need to move to a cheaper house. So they downsize. And then when they downsize and they bank the money on the downsize, but they didn't spend any time at all with wealth building skills and mindset, the money goes in the bank. The bank pays them 1%. So say they made 200 grand on a downsize. They've now got 2 grand a year coming in, which doesn't change their life at all. But they're just paying a bit less to run it. It's a lifestyle built on scarcity as opposed to abundance. And so I'm not in favor of the way most people tap into the home capacity, but do it sooner and pay yourself back. Get some equity out of it, pay yourself back, and that way you can build an asset. The home supports it. You build another asset, and then you pay yourself back. So constantly you're building assets while your home is just there to support that. Yeah. But that's if you've got a positive mindset and understand the difference between good debt and bad debt.
Beautiful. All right, let's move on to pillar number 2, pensions. Then.
Well, most people have heard of pensions, or they've got a pension either from a previous job, or they've got one through their company, or maybe they've even set one up with a workplace pension. And my concern about that, there's no value add. Most people park their money in the stock market, which is no cash flow. It's accumulating to someday, one day, when I'm 65, which is why most business owners don't like them. Why would I park money in something that pays me in my 60s when I need to build the business today? So most people put too much faith, or they don't use the pension well enough. And as a result, they pay higher fees. They often delegate the money to a third party. That delegation very quickly turns into abdication. And I'll give you 2 examples of why that happens. Number 1, 20 billion pounds.
20 billion.
20 billion. That's the amount of money that's lost in pensions that are unclaimed by people who had a job, moved on from a job, moved house, they got married and changed their name, and they leave the pension behind for the industries already wealthy enough, thank you very much, to warm their rear end on and bank the money from the profits in that. 20 billion pounds. So people...
Is that per year, or is that over a period?
That's the fund value. People have just left their money. They've forgotten it's there. It's just there unclaimed. And the other thing is most people are paying 2% per annum for the cost of managing money. Average return in the stock market in the UK, when you take the booms and bumps into play, 6%. So you're paying a third of your money to somebody else who isn't interested in your outcome, is just taking a third of your money with no risk. They didn't put any of their original money in. And if they lose money, they still get paid before you do. Flip this. Who's got the asset? The insurance industry's got the asset because they get an asset they own, well, they control, that is not theirs, fine. So they get the money whether you get paid or not. It puts money in their bank account while you're asleep. And even if you lose money, they still get paid. And they've got that profit forever as long as you remain inert. So if you stay at rest with your pension, you'll get a woeful return in the long term, which is why the average income in the UK in retirement is a shade over £15,000 a year. That's the average income that people retiring at 65 in the UK earn from a combination of state pension and what pensions they've got. It's woeful.
Any take-home message for that point? Any little mini action point?
Well, number one, if you're paying something, we believe anybody should be paying less than 1% for their money to be managed. So we do that. So we have a company that just gets the cost down and down and down, number one. Number two, pensions can be moved. So a pension can turn from a conventional pension into a SSAS pension, a pension that's for business owners, and then we move it from the industry into our own control. And when we do that, that's when we can buy other assets.
What's the lowest amount? Let's say people have got a pension that's listening into this. What's the lowest amount that's actually worth moving it?
50K probably.
Not lower than that?
Not really. Unless you've got profit sitting in the bank that you haven't yet used.
Then you can add to it.
And you can do 60,000 a year now.
It's gone up to 60,000.
It's gone up to 60,000 from 40. And now the amount of money you can hold in a SSAS is unlimited. Used to be $1 million, now it's unlimited. So it's like entrepreneurs relief has come back again. An unlimited tax-free trust fund that you can use for your business and to build your wealth, and it's all protected. I'd rather have one of those than have a conventional pension. So that's what we do, is we encourage business owners to move that money into small self-administered scheme, or a SSAS for short.
Right, we're still on the first three, and then we're on the four game changers after
number
this.
Three, same as number two. It's people who park their money in cash, they park their money in ISAs, they park. When they're parked, they're at rest. The money's not doing anything and they're still paying those fees because they're not adding any value. They're not creating any value. They're not leveraging any value. You couldn't, if I said do something every month to improve the value of your investments, you can't, because what can you do? You're powerless. And my argument is, well, so is the industry. They can't do anything either. So you're just participating in the ebb and flow of the market. But there are things you can do to mitigate your risk. So what I share with people is how to lock in gains and look at their investments every 90 days rather than just leaving them on the ebb and the flow. And then you can bank your gains as you go. You make some gains and you plant another seed. You make some gains, if assuming you made a gain, you plant another seed. So you're constantly banking and planting, not just watching it go up and it go down and go round again. So it's getting involved every 90 days in the investments.
Yeah, and just that exercise alone, every time you do that, so you bank it, you pull it out, and you go and plant it over there. Well, it's like going to the gym. Yeah, you feel good afterwards. You're taking control of it. You get a dopamine hit. You're in control of wealth building. So every 90 days, take some out and put it in. That's
as long as you make the gain. But most people are not paying attention at all. So we try and suggest every 90 days, have a look. Have I made a gain? If we call it gold, identify the gain, take something off the table, lock it in, diversify. It doesn't mean buy gold. It's just an acronym, right?
Gain.
Identify the gain. That's the G. Yeah. Take some of the gain off the table. That's the O.
Take it off the table. Yeah.
Lock it into another asset. That's the L. D. Diversify. Because wealth comes from diversifying into multiple pillars, so that whatever one pillar is affected, the rest of them are not.
Is there anyone that you work with that's got like hundreds across that diversified, or is there an appropriate number to have?
There isn't. I mean, it's any combination of the 7, but in each of the 7 there are multiple strategies within it. So if you not on the first 3, there's not. You
On
could
the next
argue,
one, on the next one, you
next
could
one,
easily have
there's
100.
there's
Yeah,
multiple ways.
yeah.
So I
Okay.
would say if you can control three or four pillars,
Yep.
you can get to financial independence. Those people who have got all seven in play, they've gone way beyond independence. So if their target was 10,000 a month, they're now at 20. So that we call that abundance. So that you got so much money flowing into your life, you can't spend it. You now turn your mind to philanthropy and the future generational thing, which is just as important in the protecting your family. Not just protecting them in terms of legally protection, but it's also passing on wisdom to the next generation. And that's the subject of my next book, which is how to be a great money role model for your kids of all ages.
Beautiful. I love that though as well. How to control the 3 or 4 pillars, and you will control your financial independence.
Exactly.
Control all 7, and you're gonna have
You're bulletproof forever.
You're gonna have money in abundance. So, like everybody right now, make a decision as a minimum to control 3 to 4 of these pillars. Here's number 4.
Yeah. Which is building a portfolio of property. Now, the key thing to understand is just wrestle with it and say, okay, there's probably 20 property strategies. So we don't need to go into the strategies, but let's think about how we denominate the flow of cash. What's the income we get? Now, when we have our house and we have our pension investments, there's no monthly cash flow. It's not happening. But a property portfolio is rental income. So you're controlling stream or streams of rental income in as many different ways as it makes sense to you. And of course, with 20 strategies, you're not going to learn 20 strategies, but there's everything from, hey, if you've got a business, why not buy the commercial premises you're already occupying? Then you're paying rent to yourself. So you're landlord and tenant, and your money's circling in your own personal economy. And that's really what we want to try and achieve here. Or it could be, you buy a bigger building and then you rent some of it out to somebody else. Or you turn the building into flats and you sell the flats and you're building some capital along the way. Or you learn to plant seeds in buy to let or in Airbnb called service accommodation, or supported living, which is providing accommodation for children or rehabilitation or blind or whatever. So you can combine the return on investment ROI with the return on impact, which is another ROI. Can you make an impactful contribution to the world because you're that way inclined? You can build your wealth with that environmental or that social or that impactful way, which means doing business for good, not just good business.
Well, look, there's going to be lots of people on here that's listening right now that, there always is, especially when property investment comes up. Where's the best place to start? What's the best thing to learn? What's your advice on that?
The best place to start is to have a conversation to work out how much finance you've got.
Yep.
What are you interested in? Like, what's your first level of interest? What do you already know? How much time do you have? Because there's a sort of a matrix across that. And I call it being financially fit, FIT, finance, intellect, time, or interest and time. If you've got loads of time and, you've got plenty of money, you can be involved in much more higher yielding properties, such as apart hotels, or buying old bed and breakfasts and turning them into much more powerfully yielding properties. You can learn those strategies. If you've got zero time or very little time, then you're probably looking at something simple like a buy to let, where you're just buying a 2-bedroom apartment or a small house and you're getting a tenant in, and then you're locking in your first £500 a month. You go, right, I've now got £500 recurring. What's my next recurring level? I'm going to get another one. All right, I'll get 2. And then you can do it that way. And there are so many different strategies to learn, but you can't learn them all. So best to have a conversation with somebody who can interact with you and say, what about this strategy? Have a look at that. And that's part of your monthly outcome, is to get some education on it, talk to somebody about it, go see somebody doing it, educate, support, connect, go see somebody doing it so that education comes to life. And we've got a community of thousands now. So if someone says, hey, I'm interested in buying properties in the Lake District for service accommodation, right, go and see Fred, he's doing that. And you go there and have a look. And you can then intellectualize what it is, they do and go, yeah, that's for me, or no, that's not for me. So the fastest way to do it is always to model somebody else who's already done it.
Go and learn direct. So if you're thinking of getting that bed and breakfast in the Lake District, go up there and see someone. Yeah. All right. So let's go on to number 5.
Yeah.
Business.
Now, this is not simply saying get a business, because more often than not, we know that business owners are trading time for money and often doing more roles than they had before, perhaps if they were in employment. We're talking about creating a business that works without you, which is bang on the philosophy of Action Coach. But in my view, it's all about recurring income. So if you can create recurring income inside your business and then use the proceeds as well to build recurring income outside of your business, you're going to go at double speed. You're going to get financial independence in 3 years, not 5 years. If you can't do that and your business isn't geared for that, then it's use your coach, get your maximum profit out of the business, and then use that money to plant seeds to build other assets. So the lifestyle business, you reinvest the proceeds from the lifestyle business after you've taken what you want to build your wealth. So it just depends on whether the business has got the likelihood, the potential to create any of the 4 recurring income styles inside a business, whether that's automated products, automated services, creating memberships and subscriptions, or a gateway. That one, and I remember talking about those on BizX. So that's probably recorded somewhere, or if you want, I can go into that. But creating recurring income in your business, or reinvesting the proceeds and planting seeds and other assets from the business you've got, which is more time for money.
Creating recurring income. That's a mindset as well, isn't it? To make sure. I mean, what about the different streams of income and several different streams of recurring income in a business?
Well, as I mentioned, there are 4 broad types. I know John Warrillow in his book, The Automatic Customer, says there's 9, but I've diluted it or concentrated into 4. And I think everybody can create one of the 4. And if you can get all 4 in play.
Do you ever have any challenges with anyone that's like, I'm struggling to create one of the recurring ones?
Well, it doesn't really matter as long as you have an honest conversation. So if someone says, hey, I've got a lifestyle business, I'm a mindset coach or a sex therapist or whatever it would be, this is what I do for a living, then okay, if you don't want to do that, you just enjoy the time for money and you get a decent income from it, let's just show you how to reinvest the money. If you don't want to build a recurring income business, that's fine, because you have to put an infrastructure in place to do that. Whereas if you've already got the infrastructure, if you're selling a product, there's no reason at all you couldn't bolt on some form of either automation of the product. Like if you're a wine shop, why wouldn't you have a catalog to sell wine online? So you can build an online catalog for that. If you've got a service where you're delivering something, why couldn't you deliver a product on top of the service? So there's so many different ways you can overlay them. And in some cases, if you're in a really nice niche in your business, you can create a side gateway. What I mean by that is you can create another business on the side, which is who's looking for your service. Well, what else are they looking for before or after you? Well, why don't you create a website that finds the people before, finds the people after? You do deals with all those people, and every time they buy something, you get an affiliate income. And there are so many businesses, look at the biggest business in the world from that, which is Amazon, doesn't sell anything. It's somebody else's product, and they get a clip every time.
More and more affiliate businesses are going to be born right now.
While there's always room, when you've got a deluge of information that's online, when you can find anything, the skill that I'm seeing that is more valuable than anything else right now is the skill of curation, which means to distill something down so that the person doesn't, it's like trying to get a cup of water from Niagara Falls. There's just so much information. If you can say, well, hey, I deal with horsey people, right? I supply horse feed, right? So I know the mindset of horsey people. What are they looking for? And I create something where I can sell saddles. I can, I'm not equine based myself, but you know what I mean? You can create that relationship because you know exactly what they're spending and where they're spending it. and you're creating content for them or curating content. You don't have to create it. And that's really part of what Wealth Builders does. It just creates and curates the best people in anything you could do in building wealth, almost like being a GP for your business, and then you build the experts around you in a kind of a hub and spoke way. I think it's a skill that will continue to develop over the coming years. I don't think it's one that's had its day.
All right, let's move on to number 6, IP then, intellectual property.
Yeah, well, everybody's got intellectual property because, their brain's in gear and they're delivering value in service. Okay. And for most employed people, they're giving it away, aren't they? They're trading the time for money, and they give the IP and the value of that to their employer. But there's a way to capture intellectual property, whether it's through books, whether it's through courses, whether it's through some form of membership or subscription business. And that's really part of, I know what Brad does with all of his books, and in a lesser way I'm doing with what I do. But by creating value from your expertise, so you're building on what you already know, you're not going off and learning something new. Part of the challenge why people stay at rest is because to learn something new takes time. But if you're already delivering some value, how could you just repackage and repurpose that to get another layer of value you don't already get? So it's easier because you're not having to learn anything new.
So IP, have you got to trademark it for it to be giving you money?
No. I mean, I've trademarked mine. I think if you believe that you're going to create substantial value, then you would do. But no, you can create a course, you could create a membership that doesn't need to be trademarked as long as you're delivering value. And that's the beauty of IP. If you're delivering value and getting paid for it, you've got a vested interest in keeping that value up. So it comes from a real place of high integrity, because you're constantly focused on delivering better value. So, you don't need to trademark it. It's good to do so if you believe that somebody else could masquerade as you.
Well, there's patents as well, isn't there? Because, we're an innovative society now, and there's R&D credits for everything. And there's people all over the place. Now, once there's a patent on it, the perceived value of that goes higher, yes?
Yes. So
again, that comes under pillar number 6 here, I'm guessing.
It would.
When appropriate. It
would. It's more difficult. The patent is one of the most difficult things to do, simply because it's about a complete reinvention of something. But IP, you can test your IP with a short article and publish it. You could create a white paper and publish it, and just start doing little tiny things. And like when I write books, the co-writer or the guy who does it, he says, we're just creating articles that we weave together into a book, because then it's not too much like hard work. Writing a book sounds, I'll never get around to writing a book. But can you write something today that's useful for your audience, and then just lock that in, capture that, and then that's a part of the book, and then you just stitch it together with somebody else's help. And we got people in our team that help people do that. So it's easier to create the book than it is to put it off.
Last but not least, here we go. This is number 7. Mm-hmm. Remember, these latter 4 are the ones that make the big difference. So joint ventures then.
Yeah, joint ventures and collaborations interchangeably there. It comes from the point that you don't have to be the inventor of everything yourself. If you've got a busy business, you can create a joint venture with somebody else, because the way that they bring value is different to the way that you bring value. And then by looking at what they do and what you do, and you combine those skills and create a separate joint venture source of profit. So that's why each one of those additional pillars has got a source of income, whether it's rental, whether it's recurring profit, whether it's royalty, or whether it's subscriptions, or whether it's shared profit. A lot of the things that I do, for example, with my SaaS is I can do a joint venture with the business owner for a piece of property, and they can find the property, they can do the property, they can fill the property, they can manage the property. But by putting money in, I can get a share of that value by letting them do what they're great at, and I do what I'm great at.
I suppose, you could do that with, with properties, as you said, and you've just got to put your money in then to be taking a stake of it then.
That can be as simple as money, yeah, but it doesn't have to be. It could be two
Time.
people. Well, it could be, we talk about that idea of a gateway. It could be, I've got this idea, but I don't know how to do it. But you use, somebody with skill in technology, and then you come together and you share the value somehow. So it's all about creating value, then working out how to share it. But that's what happens in life and in business anyway. So it's just a continuation of that thought.
Well, let's have a look at the 7. So you can see all 7 here. So number 1 is home capacity. Number 2 is pensions. Number 3 are your investments. And most people have got all 3 of them. And see, Max is putting us in our wealthy mansion here as we're going, by the way. Number 4, this is where the game starts to change. Property portfolio. Business. Number 5. Number 6, intellectual property. Number 7, joint ventures. Get all 7 of those, and there we go. We're in is this our wealthy mansion, I suppose? Probably.
Well, this is our abundance. Remember, a mansion is itself could qualify for home capacity, but it wouldn't necessarily be wealth generating.
Yeah, well, look, you said this really at the start, because I was going to ask you at the end if there was just one bit of advice that you would give people. Maybe it's the thing that you already said at the start. What would it be to start creating your wealth? So what would it be?
I would do a stock take of pillars 1, 2, 3, because 1, 2, 3 gives you the capital to start with 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there's always something. There's always a seed that can be squeezed out of the latent value that's in your home, in your pensions or your investments. Or if you've got a business and you're sitting with that money in the business bank account, you could immediately go to 5, because 5 can be a latent, that's business, if it's not yet creating recurring income. So you look at any of those 4 places where you've already got some money somewhere, that's your finance, and then find something you could be interested in, that's the I, and then how much time have you got? And then with a conversation, you can easily be directed to do one thing next month that will take care of things. But I'd always start in any event with protecting the family. Do that as your number 1 action.
Absolutely.
The peace of mind you get from that, incredible. And then you've done a great job, and now you're building on solid foundations from there.
I think it's more than peace of mind. I think you get that dopamine hit I referred to earlier on. You're in control. You're taking control of your wealth. I think you've done more than make a decision to build your wealth there. You've taken action on it, and you can feel strong off the back of it. You know my favorite thing that we've from today is, my biggest takeaway, Kevin. It's hanging around you. Every time I speak with you, you influence me positively on these kind of areas. And dare I say, everybody else on here too. I think the importance of having that person in your environment that's going to encourage you to make a good choice, because this is just making the right choice. It's like, when is now a good time to start building your wealth? It's definitely not tomorrow. It was definitely not. It was definitely yesterday. And yesterday's gone. So today, take that one action today. Plant the seed, let it grow. What's been your favorite bit today, Kevin?
Well, it's been great for me to get a chance to interact and have you guys pulling those things and making it relevant for your own audience. And I'll mention one of my favorite ROIs, by the way, just for fun. If you take care of the family and you let your spouse know that you've done all that, and that, in my case, it's a she, she's now safe, and everything that's being done is to keep the risk at bay and to build assets for her if I go, you get an extra little ROI, which is return on intimacy. You get a little kiss and a cuddle.
There you go.
For thinking about them and taking care of them. So, it's just a jokey one, but nonetheless, cool. They don't half respect you when they know you've taken care of the family. And that's what we should all do.
I think that's a really valid point. The love, compassion, respect that you said there from the family. I think it's further afield than the family. When you're taking control of this stuff, I think you get the respect from all around you. People know it. People can see it. You're a role model. You're inspiring others to do the right thing. So thank you very much on behalf of everybody here at Action Coach.
Thank you.
Kevin Whelan. See you again, folks, next week.